Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your girl, Dr. Radim Lawson, and I am back with a new episode of the Horizons Author Lounge. And I'm really excited because I have two seasoned authors who have been in the game for a second, and they know what it takes to not only be published, but they know what it takes to network. They know their craft very well, and they are going to be giving us a lot of information. So if you are an up and coming author, maybe you're an independent author who's trying to improve your craft, or maybe you are a future author and you really want to learn how to break into this business and do well in the business and not just become a writer but a great writer. This is going to be the show for you. So I'm looking forward to talking with these ladies. And without any further ado, I'm going to bring on our first guest, Miss Jeanna. Yay!
Hey, how you doing?
Wonderful. How are you?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for asking.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate the opportunity. I really do.
Well, thank you so much. So now, before we get started, I always ask my guests to tell us a little bit about you. So, can you tell us who is Miss Jeanna Tillery?
Okay, well, Miss Jeanna Tillery writes as J Hawkeye. So Gina with the J Hawkeye. And I am a wife and a mother. I have retired from work. I used to work at Johns Hopkins Hospital in health information management for psychiatry. And that's one of the reasons why I was so interested in the field of psychiatry. And my first book, my protagonist is a psychiatrist. Um, but after retiring, I was able to work full time. Before I retired, I used to have to kind of work in my times to write.
Oh, I know
And
that.
now I can write at any time. So, and I live in Maryland, and I'm the mother of 5 boys and 1 girl, and they're all grown up. So nobody's at home with me. So
Well, so I first of all, I know that feeling of having a full-time job and still trying to get your writing in. I mean, I went through it the whole time I was in the military. I go through it now. I have a full-time job now. So, can you talk a little bit about what that experience was like trying to balance your day job and your passion?
yes, yes, it was quite a challenge when I was younger. I used to write at night, mostly when my children were asleep. And then I took a job working at night for a while, and I used to write then too. I'm not saying I wrote on my job, but I kind of did. But I used to try to write in structured ways and at structured times. I used to write at night then. Now that I'm retired, schedules are a little harder to maintain because I can do what I want to when I get ready. And I'm kind of used to doing that. So writing has now become a discipline, something that I really have to make myself do
Mm.
on a regular basis. Before I didn't do that. So that's how it worked out for me.
Now, how do you do that? Because sometimes people have to make themselves right and nothing seems to be coming out of their fingers. Nothing is entering their heads.
You are
So, how do
absolutely
you
right.
make yourself right?
Absolutely right about that. And I wish I could tell you that I had I think about ways to do this all the time. I think about, well, you get up in the morning and you start writing and you write one sentence or 2 sentences. And I think about it all the time, but I haven't done it yet. So
Mm.
I'm still working on how to manage that part of it. Really, what I do is when I feel inspired to write or when something connects with me, with the story that I'm working on, I'll write. And I
Mm.
can sit down then at those times and it'll just flow. It'll just flow right out of me. But at other times, it is hard to write. It is difficult when the story doesn't just come into your head. Now, interestingly, Dr. Rhonda, I have 2 books where the story came to me full grown and ready to go on the page.
Okay.
But the sequels to those stories I had to work for because the story wasn't there. I had to make it, I had to roll it out. So it does matter which, which way that goes. But yeah, it is a discipline. It is one that I have not mastered. I'm not gonna mastered that discipline yet, but I'm still working on it. Still working on it.
Well, I would tell you, and I have kind of, if I'm a betting woman, and I'm from New Orleans. There's a little bit of betting that goes on in New Orleans.
Oh, a little bit.
But if I were a betting woman, I would think that you probably did some of the same things that I did. When I sat down and I just could not think about what I wanted to write next. I was not sure what to do. One, I would take that time to just do research. So if I was maybe my character lives in a certain city, or maybe whatever I'm writing about is happening during a certain time of year, I might read up on that a little bit because I want to set the scene. Or I might try to find case studies or something, or maybe Google some similar incidents so I can see what did those people do to respond to whatever happened to them. And sometimes that helps me to think, okay, well, maybe my character should do such and such.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I do that. Other times I read over what I've already written because that might help me to continue writing. But those are some of the things that I've done when I just wasn't sure what to write next.
Yeah, one of the things that you mentioned, Rhonda, was the reading over what I've already written.
Mm-hmm.
That generally helps me to find my way, to see where I've been. Kind of helps me to see where I'm going. So that's really one of the things that I do pretty consistently when I'm kind of lost and I'm just sort of around, just sort of lazing around there.
Now you write thrillers.
I do.
Involved in that because sometimes we don't always hear of an author writing their first book about a thriller. Sometimes it's a romance, or sometimes it's a quasi autobiography. But you chose to go with a thriller.
Listen, listen. If somebody gets shot or something blows up or there's a car chase, I'm all for it. That's where I live my life. Those first few sounds when you hear Law and Order come on, that doom doom doom. That's it for me. So I've always loved that genre. I've always loved thrillers, and my first book is a thriller. And when I talk about a thriller, I'm talking about something that has ratcheted action. The action just goes up. There's never a time when there's nothing going on. It goes up and then up and then up and then up. And so that's my first book was my first thriller. It is called Elephants and Chopping Blocks, Retain Their Natural Color. And it's about a psychiatrist who is in search of a serial killer who then begins to target her and her family. She doesn't know why she's being targeted. All she knows is that she needs to protect herself and her family and try to find out what the connection is between her and this killer. And that book came to me, as I stated before, full grown and ready to reproduce. It was in my head and it was ready to go on the page. I didn't have to wonder about who my characters were or what the plot was or how it was going to begin or how it was going to end. It was all there and it just flowed out. And it's unusual for me for that to happen. But then the second book, which is the sequel to Elephants and Chopping Blocks, Retain Their Natural Color, called Catch an Elephant by the Tail, I had to work for that one. I knew where I wanted the story to go, and I wanted it to be as a continuing thriller, but the pace had to ratchet down a little bit because then I had to tell a story. I had to make the connections between the first book and the second book and how those characters changed, grew, moved on, So that's really what my genre is. The genre that I love is the thriller genre.
Wow. I'll tell you, I like how you approached writing these stories. Especially when you talk about ratcheting up. Can you talk a little bit more about what does that actually mean? How are you ratcheting up the action? Are you ratcheting up the stakes? What is it that you're ratcheting up?
I love the way you put that. Both of those things, Dr. Rhonda. Both of those things. I ratchet up the action And I will give you a brief introduction to my character and a brief description. But she's in a place when the book opens. She's in a place of discomfort, and she's trying to decide something in her personal life that's going on, and how to handle it. And out of the blue, she's approached by a strange character. And the encounter with this character is the building block upon which all the future encounters are built. And so this character approaches my doctor. My doctor's name is Kirsten Leone. And this character approaches her, and then she is able to extricate herself from that conversation. She makes a decision to go home to New York. She's in Baltimore. She's going to take the train to New York. On the train, she has another unusual encounter that is a little more violent with a
Mm.
stranger. Doesn't know why. And that's how you build it. She builds on that and builds on that and builds on that. So this one leads to this one, leads to this one, and they all present different challenges. And that's how I build my thrillers. So there is very few places and very few times in the book where there's a lull in the action. There are
Gotcha.
no lulls in the action. There's always something happening, a new story or a new point of view or a new character to take you to this sort of situation or that situation, and they will all come together in the end, because they're all integral to the story. But they do branch out, and there has to be something happening. There's
Mm.
not a lot of description, not a lot of fluff. It is dialogue, it is action, it is what's happening in that moment. And the characters are strong characters, so of course I take my time to build those characters. But the story is action upon action upon action upon action until it
Mm.
reaches a pinnacle. And then it may come down a little, but then it's going to go action upon action. That's how I write my thrillers.
Wow. So, now the names of your books, once again, are Elephants and Chopping Blocks Retain Their Natural Color.
Can
And
I
then
be so crass as to show you a cover?
I was going to ask you anyway.
This is the first book, Elephants and Chopping Blocks Retain Their Natural Color. And again, my protagonist is a psychiatrist in search of a serial killer who then begins to target her. The sequel is called Catch an Elephant by the Tail. It represents a dangerous pursuit. And I explain this dangerous pursuit on the first page of this book and where I got this title from. And the third in the series, which is the one that I'm working on now, is called No Holes for Elephants. It will complete this series. It's going to tie everything together, explain all of what has happened in the first two books, and tell us who we were really looking for in this book. So there is an element of mystery in these stories, but there's also a ratcheted action. And the third book, a little less, because you already know the characters, and you already know what the stakes are. The killer has to become more subtle, so the action becomes a little more subtle, but it's still there because now we're invested in these characters, and we can sort of sense the danger before it even happens.
Oh, shoot. I like this. I like
I
this.
hope you and a million other people do too.
So, you mentioned that the title is explained in the first couple of pages. I was going to ask you why elephants.
Elephants are one of my favorite animals, and they are my favorites because of the qualities that you find in them. Not just their physical strength, although that's a part of it, but also their compassion, their intelligence, and the way that they connect with their community.
Mhm.
The intelligence that they show and the way that they connect. And elephant societies are female led, which is impressive to me. Always, when females lead the society, they tend to be very successful. And so, my protagonist, because she is a Black female and because she is strong and compassionate and intelligent and able to handle the situations that she's thrust into. That's one of the reasons why I chose the elephant to represent her and to her to represent the elephant.
I like that. So you, it sounds like you put a lot of thought into your character development as well as your story development.
I really do. Yeah, I really try. I think you have to. Don't you think you have to do
I
that
do.
in order to engage your audience? You want people to know that you are thinking through these things and that you want to grab their attention. If the character is shallow and one dimensional, and people aren't going to be interested in that. But if you can identify with some of the things that the character's going through, if you can put yourself in her place and deal with some of the issues that she deals with, um, for instance, women in a lot of professions are kind of taken for granted, and over the years it's been that way. It's getting better now, and I'll acknowledge that it's getting better now. But in my experience, most of the psychiatrists that we read about were males.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the strong men and the strong characters that we read about are men.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to make sure that I gave voice to a Black female who is all that and a bag of chips. She's intelligent, she's smart, she's pursuing things, and yet she's determined to be able to protect herself against the attacks that come to her. She's able to do that.
And and with that, it sounds like this is not a one-dimensional thing. So while she's trying to solve this case, there are other things happening to her as well.
That's right. There are other things happening in her life at the same time. And so
Because
you can
like
see how we,
almost every woman, we always have more than one thing going on at a
that's
time.
right. That's exactly right. And I wanted that represented in my story. Yes. So those are my thrillers. Um, and then I kind of, because I've finished Catch an Elephant and I started No Holes for Elephants, but No Holes for Elephants is not finished because
Mm.
Dreams of the Dead got stuck in my
Literary
head.
fiction.
Dreams of the Dead is another one of those books that got stuck in here, and I had to write it. It was there, and I needed to just put it on the page.
Mm.
Dreams of the Dead is not a thriller. It's literary historical fiction set in the mid 1850s about a little girl, Jen, who is a spiritual savant. She exists on a high spiritual level. She's self aware before she's born, and she sees the world she's about to be born into. Doesn't like everything she sees, wants to change one thing in particular, and she thinks a soldier can help her. So, because she's a spiritual savant, she thrusts her spirit into this soldier's body. She lands right in the middle of the Boer Wars in South Africa, and that's where the story begins. The story extends from South Africa to England to America, involving three families whose lives will converge around that one event that she's trying to keep from happening. So that's what was rumbling around in my head when I was trying to finish The Elephants. Dreams of the Dead distracted me.
Now I was just going to ask, you write thrillers. What
I
made
write
you
thrillers.
decide that you wanted to switch gears, so to speak, and go with the literary historical fiction book?
It wasn't a conscious decision. To be honest with you, Dr. Rhonda, it wasn't a conscious decision. This book got stuck up there, and it was demanding to be written,
Mm.
and it was full grown and ready to go on the page. I knew the plot, I knew the characters intimately, I knew where the story was going to go, and I had to write it. I couldn't ignore it. It took me less than a year to write this book, and that's unusual, but that's because it was already there. All I had to do was put it on the page. That's how Elephants and Chopping Blocks came to me. Dreams of the Dead came the same way. So,
Wow. So I guess now that you're writing full time, you were able to put a lot more time into that book.
Yes, yes, I am. I am. And it's the joy. It is the joy of my life to be able to write because it's something that I've always wanted to do. When you're a kid, did your mom ever tell you that you did something well and it sort of encouraged you?
Yeah, that's why I'm a writer today. My mom found out I could write, and she kept feeding into that, and she kept cultivating it. She kept encouraging it, and I felt like I was born to be a writer.
Yes, and that's a similar experience with me. My mother, when I was probably south of 10 years old, I wrote some little story about something, I don't know, because I used to read all the time, and I wanted to be able to give people the joy that I got from reading a good story. So I
Yes.
called myself writing a little story and I gave it to my mom. My mom was busy. She was a working mother, single mother, but she took the time to read my little story. And when she told me that it was good, that was all it took, Dr. Rhonda. I was off.
Mm,
I was off to the races,
that's
which
beautiful.
just reinforces how important it is for us to encourage our children, in my mind.
Have any of your children followed your footsteps and begun writing themselves?
No, no, they haven't. They do a variety of different jobs, but none of them right. No, they do have talent, but none of them right.
Are
But
they at least creatives?
they actually are. They are not really. My grandson is a creative. He's an artist, and I've told him he's an artist. He has the most interesting. I have some of his artwork hanging on my wall, and he's 9 years old.
Wow.
So, and I bought him a portfolio because I want him to keep those doodles. He doodles, and he does some beautiful doodles. And I told him I want you to keep him. So I just got him a portfolio so he could do that. He's the creative, but my children, not so much. They were more focused on earning a living and buying a house and doing those kinds of things. And that's what they kind of concentrated on.
Well, it happens. I think my daughter's the same way, but she's an actress. So I guess her creativity went through that.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that. That's
Well, don't
fantastic.
don't worry. She used acting just enough to get through school, and then she said, "Okay, that's enough of this. I'm going to the job."
I'm sure she's wonderful. My other grandchild is very creative as well, but I think she's going to be something like an engineer. She likes to build,
Oh
and she
wow.
wants to build, and but she does every artistic thing she can find. She dances and she
Hmm.
plays the violin, and she does all
Nice.
kinds of things like that. So
Okay, so the creativity is just another ways.
it just jumped the generation, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So now we have a few minutes left, and I did want to talk about. Well, first of all, you were in an event last month in Baltimore, the City of Lights event.
Yes, City Lit. City Lit. Yes, we were down at the Meyerhoff Symphony Hall for City Lit, which is an annual sort of a literary festival where authors come and many of them are much more acclaimed authors than say myself, but they come and they talk about their craft, and sometimes they get a chance to do panels and to read and to
Yeah.
discuss the craft. Really, what I was doing with City Lit was to vend. They gave us an opportunity to just sell our books and to be there and to be in that environment. And so that was really cool. But I'll tell you something that's coming up that's going to be really cool. And I don't know whether you know about Con, but it's Creatures, Crime, and Creativity. It happens
Oh,
every year. Have you ever heard of that one?
I don't think I know about that one, but I think I'm interested.
In September. So if they have a website, Creatures, Crime, and Creativity, or Con 3,
Okay.
and it is a writers conference, and you get all kinds of writers there and panels and discussions, and it's a wonderful way for writers to engage with other writers.
And it's called Creatures, Crime, and
Creatures, Crime,
Creativity.
and Creativity, and it'll happen in September, and I believe in September, and it is going to be in
Oh, well, shoot,
Columbia,
that's
Maryland.
right down the street from us. We can do
Yeah,
this.
that's what I'm thinking.
Now, I know a long time ago when I lived in Maryland before, there was another event, the Baltimore Book Festival. Are they still doing that?
The Baltimore Book Festival is coming back this year. It
Yay!
is
Okay,
coming
great.
back this year. It will be in Waverly this time.
Okay.
So just keep an eye out for it. But the plans are that it will be back this year, and it'll be in Waverly. And I plan to be there. So if
Girl,
you
I might
plan to be
see
there,
you there.
I will look for you. You know I'm gonna look for you.
Right?
Yes,
Well, see,
indeed.
we're friends now. You're not getting rid of me.
That's right. That's right. I love it. I love it.
So now, the other thing I wanted to ask you about is you are also a part of the Maryland Black Writers Guild. Can you talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that?
The Maryland Black Writers Guild has been a blessing to me for the last, I'm assuming I've been a member at least 10 years.
Nice.
Maryland Black Writers Guild is a group of writers who are, the whole purpose of this guild is to encourage writers to
Mhm.
write, to help, to give us direction, to help us to connect, to network with each other, to learn from each other, to bounce ideas off of each other. There are people in the group, and Wilma Brockington is the coordinator of the Black Writers Guild for our guild in Maryland. And I would encourage anybody who wants to seriously, even if you're not, if you haven't written a word, but you want to, Black Writers Guild is going to help you get there. If you just
Love
stick
it.
with us, because that's the whole purpose, is to encourage each other to get these books that we have in us out and get them done, and get them done well, and know how to do it, how to edit, how to market, how to, all of that.
And
Um,
we talk so much about wanting to network, and sometimes I don't think that we know exactly what networking is, because networking is not just throwing your book into somebody's DMs and hoping that they buy it,
that's right.
and it's not spamming every book club you see. Often, it's about meeting like-minded people and learning from them, and that's what I think is the best thing about organizations like the Black Writers Guild. So I'm a fairly new member myself. So I'm looking forward to networking with everyone. But it's just, I think it's a wonderful group. And just like you said, if you're wanting to learn, or if you're wanting to just network and learn, and share with other people, this is a great way to do that.
It's an encouragement. It helps to encourage you to pursue this goal that we all have. Writers, it's for writers, and any writer who's interested in doing it is welcome to come. It's called the Black Writers Guild, but it's not limited to just Black folk. Anybody who wants to write is welcome to come and share and be a part of it. And we meet generally the first Saturday of the month, through from September through June, and then we take off July and August. And right now we're meeting mostly virtually, but our last event, one of our last events, was in person, and it was great. It was great. We got to hear each other's segments from each other's work, and it was wonderful.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So yeah, I'm looking forward to networking with the group and meeting some more
Great.
authors, because that's what this is all about.
I'm
So I'm
telling
excited. I'm
you.
really glad that we met. I believe we met on LinkedIn, didn't we? Was it
I think
LinkedIn?
so. Yes, I think we did. Yes.
Oh, author Debbie Stokes wants to know where the meeting was held in person, or where will it be held in
It
person?
was held on at the Ricerstown Road Enid Pratt Free Library on Ricerstown Road. That's where it was held about a month. I think it was 2 months ago, and it was just wonderful. And so we do try to have a hybrid event, at least once a year, maybe twice a year, but once a year definitely. And then
And
the
I
other
noticed
ones,
you also take off during the summer.
yeah, and we're off June and July and August. So the last meeting is the one that's coming up in June. There'll be one in June, and then we'll be off July and August, and then we'll be back with a whole new lineup in September.
Perfect. Well, I'm looking forward to networking with them and getting to know you better. I want to thank you so much for just sharing your knowledge, and sharing your books with us. And I'm looking forward to these thrillers, and I'm looking forward to this historical literary fiction because I've really gotten into that lately.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thanks for being
Glad.
here. You have a wonderful evening. God bless you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. All right, y'all. That was author Jeanna Tillery. She is a thriller author, and she has two books out. Now, name your books one more time, Gina, before you leave.
Elephants and Chopping Blocks Retain Their Natural Color. The sequel is Catch an Elephant by the Tail and Dreams of the Dead.
Boom. All right, y'all. I don't know if we put up your website, so we want to make sure we put your website up. So make sure you visit her site, order those books, and let's continue to support these great stories. So thanks once again, Jenny. You have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, y'all. Without further ado, we are going to bring on our next guest, and that is going to be Miss Vanessa. And I met Miss Vanessa, I think it was about a week ago. We were on a panel discussion together, and she was just bringing that fire. So I said, I need to get to know Miss Vanessa again. And then when I had the opportunity to get her on the show, I said, let me reach out and see if I can get her on here. And so thank you for joining me tonight in the Horizons Author Lounge.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I am so excited to be here. Yeah, Dr. Rhonda, you were fire in that interview. So
Oh, thank
I'm
you so much.
excited to be here to talk to you.
Well, I'm excited to have you. So before we get started, can you tell everybody who you are?
Well, my name is Vanessa Collins. I am a writing and publishing coach, a certified digital marketing strategist, and my area of expertise is helping authors, speakers, coaches really monetize their book. Because unfortunately, I hate to be the one to, break the news to you. Dr. Rhonda says it. When I heard you say this, Dr. Rhonda, I was like, oh yeah, we click. Just because you write the book does not mean people will buy it. Just because you write it does not mean they will come. We are not in the field of dreams. You have to market your book. You have to understand that as an author, you are now a business owner.
Yes.
And you have to understand the pieces that go with that.
Now there are going to be some authors who will say, I don't want to be a business owner. All I wanted to do is write a book.
And that's great. That's cool. That is awesome. But you can't get disappointed when that book doesn't sell. And
Mm,
I know a lot of people who write as a way of therapy, as they needed to get through that, they needed to work through some trauma, they
yeah,
needed to get some stuff done. And that's awesome. That is absolutely amazing. However, if you want to now really sell that book, really help other people, then you have to take the writing hat off and put that business hat on. And that can be difficult for some authors.
yes. Well, what are some of the first things we need to do when we become an author? When we're trying to make that transition from just writing my passion project, writing for fun, to now I'm an author with sometimes with my own publishing company, or sometimes I'm an author who belongs to a publishing company. But either way, I have to advertise. I have to treat it like a business.
Yes. So the first thing you have to do is really understand who your target market is. And I know all of this sounds real businessy, and you're like, well, I don't want to do all of that. But or you may say, and I'm sure Dr. Rhonda, you run into this all the time as well. When you ask an author, well, who's your target market? And they say, well,
Everybody.
everybody.
Yeah, my book is for everybody.
My book is for everybody. Everybody needs to know my story. And unless your story is helping them, you may have some issues. So you really got to understand, who am I writing this book for? And one of the things that I have my clients to do, especially if I can catch them before they write their book. And I love to catch them before they write it, because I have them to think about that question before they write it. And that could be the difference between writing this, book about your story and having a bestseller, like for real bestseller, Dr. Rhonda, not the fake Amazon bestseller, but
Come
like
on now. See, now you're being shady, Vanessa.
a real, best-selling book that transforms lives. When you
Yes.
can take that memoir and pull out those life lessons and know who this target audience is, who my story is going to help. And it
Mm-hmm.
could be a number of different people. It's not just like one particular set. And
Yeah.
so I tell people, if your book is for women, then think about all the different types of women. Is it married women? Is it
There
single
you go.
women? Is it, Gen Z women, and, all the different types? Because you talk to people differently
Yeah.
depending on where they are. So that's the biggest key. Figure out
Mm-hmm.
who your audience is.
I'm so glad you made that point, because I think sometimes it gets a little difficult. You're like, well, yeah, I write women's fiction, but my book is fantasy fiction, or my book is science fiction. So now, what women read science fiction? And when you really start to ratchet that down,
Yeah.
then you have to ask yourself, okay, so my target audience, maybe I don't know, because I'm not a huge science fiction reader, but I'm just going to make
Mm-hmm.
up this audience.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe a science fiction audience is women between the ages of 25 and 35. So that might wind up being the
Yep.
people that you target. Or maybe it's not a lot of Black women who are reading fiction, but you are a Black woman who's writing um, science fiction.
Yep.
So think about that when you are targeting people. You can't target your Facebook ad or your marketing
Right.
to only Black women if it's not normally Black women who are reading your book. It's not saying that
Absolutely.
you can't build that audience,
Exactly.
but you might have to do a little bit of education on it. You're going to have to find that niche of people who are
Right.
into that book in order for you to sell it.
Well, and the other thing too is, don't forget there are people that have your target audience already gathered together. So if your target audience is science fiction, if you write science fiction stuff, then find the podcast that deals with science fiction
Yes.
stuff. Get the, Star Trek, and start with all the science fiction things, which, if that's your genre, you kind of know those things. There are publications, there are, where do those people hang out? Who are they listening to? Those are the people you need to connect with. And
Right.
that is where you're going to find that it's not super crowded in terms of a ton of authors. And I think, Dr. Rhonda, you mentioned this in the meeting, the little conversation we had with Julia. The fact that if you are trying to market in groups of authors, and we have all these Facebook groups that have all these other authors in them, if that's where you are sticking, trying to sell your book, everybody in there is trying to sell their book.
Right. Nobody's really reading your promo. That's why you might have 2 likes on it, because nobody's reading your promo because they're trying to get their promo in there.
Exactly. But find where the science fiction folks are. Find
Mm-hmm.
where the costumes and what's that, cosplay and all of
Yeah,
that.
it's like Comic-Con.
Yeah, all of that. You have so many different areas. And that's why it's super important, even before you write your book, to figure out who the audience is. If you've already written your book, now go back and figure out who that audience is and start promoting. Even
Absolutely.
if the book is 5 years old, 10 years old, start promoting. It does not go bad.
Yeah, and everybody in the country hasn't read your book yet. You can still promote your book if it's been out for 10 years. I still
Exactly.
promote my books, and I haven't written a new fiction in a couple of years, but
Ab-
I'm still promoting my books because there's still somebody who hasn't read it yet.
Exactly. Exactly.
Let's see. I knew this was going to be some good stuff. Now, I do have your website, VanessaCollinsLLC.com.
Yes,
Uh,
ma'am.
do you still have your lead magnet on there?
I do still have my free gift, and I'll make it a little bit easier for you,
Yay!
and post it out here on Facebook, because that's another thing as well. As um, as authors, we have to understand how to use digital technology. Okay. Uh-oh. We have to understand. And I put it in there wrong. Let me correct it. Uh, we have to understand how to use technology. You can't be afraid of it. Okay. You cannot go into the I don't know how to do this. Take the time to learn.
Yes,
Take the time to learn how to promote your book on the social platforms. All social platforms are not equal.
very
You
true.
cannot do the same type of content straight across the board.
Well, one thing I'm learning is Pinterest. I think a lot of people sleep on Pinterest.
Yes.
I've been sleeping on Pinterest for years,
Yes,
but it's a great, and you don't even have to have a lot of followers.
you don't. You don't. If you have a female audience and you are sleeping on Pinterest, don't do it.
You know
Don't
who's
do it.
been saying that for years, and people haven't been listening to him. I don't know if you follow Gary V. Um,
I love Gary. I love Gary V.
he's been
I love
saying for years that we need to get on Pinterest, and we
yeah.
haven't been listening to
Yes. Yes.
him.
I bought a class this year and I teach digital marketing, certified in digital marketing. I have a ton of different classes I teach, but Pinterest is one of those things I started when the platform first came up and I wasn't consistent. That's the other thing. You got to be consistent. And over the years, things have changed. You can do videos on Pinterest now, and
Yeah.
there's, you know, paid pins and all of that. So what did I do? I found a course. And that is one of the things that is on my list this year is to master Pinterest.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna have to just motivate each other because I'm gonna get my Pinterest life on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
All
I've
right. So
played around with it.
mhm,
Uh, and I have some things on there, but again, not being consistent.
yeah.
If you do content, so if you are blogging, YouTube, which is another thing that a lot of authors sleep on, if you're doing that, you need to get on Pinterest.
Well, now, so now you have you put your free product, the product creation for authors.com workshop. What exactly is that workshop?
So one of the things that I think is the easiest product to create from your book is a workshop. So if you want to create a workshop from your book, but you don't know where to start, this is my workshop planner and checklist. And it will help walk you through the process of creating workshops based on your book. And I always believe the book is that's your curriculum. Once you get it out of your head, you now have this rich curriculum that you can help transform people's lives. Now, giving them the book is going to give them information. That's the done, do it yourself type product or service. But when you can do a workshop, when you can do an online course, when you can do coaching programs based on your content, that is where you take your $15 book and it's now a $1,500 product. or a
Mhm.
$2,000 product.
But
And we
I
already
mean,
have the
fiction.
content.
How do I do that? If I have a fiction book, I don't have anything to teach.
Oh, you have so much to teach. You have so much to teach. So there's a couple of different ways you can do it with fiction. So most of the times, fiction books are talking about different traumas and things that people are going through. You can have workshops based on those things that you talk about. One of the things that most fiction authors uh, fail to recognize, and your the person that you had previous to me, oh my goodness, her thrillers, I love thrillers. And just
Amazing, right?
listening to her process, and you do fiction as well. There's so many people who want to learn how to do that. You know how to do it. You have the receipts. You should be having workshops on how to write a book. If people are asking you, can you help me with my book, which is always the number one question any author
Mhm.
gets, I don't
You
care
trying to
what type
sell
of book,
books and they want to tell you about the book in their head that they've been
they
having in
want to tell you
the
about their
last 20
baby.
years.
You trying to show them your baby, and they're trying to tell you about the baby they're trying to they're trying to create. But so there's so many different things that you can do with fiction books. One of the things that I've learned recently, because my focus is on nonfiction, but I
Mhm.
read a lot of fiction books, and I always love a good funnel. I love list building. Authors have to learn how to list build before you send people to Amazon, because Amazon will give you money all day long.
Yeah.
But what they will not give you is the
Yeah, that will
name and
be
email
discussed. Yes.
addresses of the people who bought your book. That's what you need, because if those people bought your first book, they will buy your second book. They
Yep.
may come to your workshops.
Yep.
They may come to your live events. So, one of the things that I have seen in the fiction realm is, you know how you guys, you fiction folks, always get us with the epilogue, right? Y'all always get us with that, what's happened, 2 years later. We sweating, we done just went through this traumatic experience, coming to the end of the book, and you give us this epilogue. Well, I have seen a couple of authors offer an additional epilogue for getting on their mailing list. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Because for a really good book, we hate for it to end. I
Yeah.
know you, as the author, you're tired of this book, right? You're tired of reading it. You're tired of the characters. You have done your work. But as a reader, we want more. We always want more. We always want more. And so we even get to at the end of the epilogue, and we're like, man, but what happened here? And okay, well, what happened 3 years later, 5 years later? I've
Right.
run into a couple of authors that just put, and it wasn't even a lot, just maybe a 3, 4, 5 page extended epilogue. And they had, if you would like to know what happens 3 years out, go to this link, and it takes you right to an opt-in page, and
Yep.
bam, you're on their list. And then they are able to email you about other books in their series, other books in their catalog that you may not know about. There's so many fun things fiction authors can do.
Yep. I mean, and you're right though. I think and I think really what you're saying is don't just limit yourself to the content of your book. When you're writing your workshop, or when you're making your workshop, or when you're offering your free gift, it doesn't have to just be tied to the content of your book. You
Absolutely.
are a professional author. You have a knowledge that a lot of people
Yes.
want. So why
Yes.
not market that?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. If you are writing a fiction book and your character listens to music, offer a playlist as a lead magnet.
I love the playlist now.
Yes,
Give your book a soundtrack.
exactly. Offer the playlist. I have seen fiction books where one of the characters was a chef and they came out with an actual cookbook, kind of
Love
based.
it. Well,
Yes.
Michelle Stimpson, when she was promoting her books, I think it was called Sisters with a Side of Greens. She was everybody who purchased who pre-ordered her book got a free pack of a special seasoning that she had created. And so that was her way of getting the book out there.
That's so cool.
And it worked out. It worked
Yes.
out. So I love creativity. Now, while we're talking about creativity, let's say there's an author who's saying, I've tried that. I tried the lead magnet. I've tried to get my book out there. I even tried Facebook ads, but I'm not making sales. What do you tell them?
I tell them first, again, have you really identified your target audience? I
Mhm.
do not recommend Facebook ads as a first step in terms of promoting your book. If you want to do ads, if you just feel like you got to do ads, I recommend you do Amazon ads before you do Facebook ads. You can spend a lot of money on Facebook ads and not get any results. So if you're gonna do ads, learn how to do Amazon ads
And
because
learn how to target.
and learn how to target. But it's easier on Amazon and those ads on platform. It's a platform where people are already looking for books. So your ad shows up where where people are looking for books. In Facebook, your ad is showing up during people's, while they're scrolling. And
Mhm.
they may not necessarily be thinking about a book at that point.
Well,
Uh,
I think another piece of that too is that we older people don't want to admit this, but if depending on the type of book you're writing and who your target audience is, your target audience may not even be on Facebook because
Absolutely.
the young folks say that old people are on Facebook now. They're on IG. They're on TikTok.
On TikTok, they're on other places. Yeah. So
Right.
again, that's why you have to know who's your audience and where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm going to be totally transparent, Dr. Rhonda. For most of my audience, our focus isn't so much on the book sale. Our focus is on the products and services
Yes.
you can create from your book. So I will write a book and give it away for free because
It's
for
leading to something
me,
bigger.
the book is the brochure. So my main book, I've written seven, but my main seven plus some others. But my main book is Chief Executive Author. I give that book away. If you want to get that book, you can, go to chiefexecutiveauthor.com and you can get the book free. You just pay for shipping. And that is because the that book is very geared toward a certain audience
Mm-hmm.
and is geared toward authors who want to grow their business. And so I'm not so concerned about them paying $15 to Amazon for the book. This book is a brochure for you to see if I know what I'm talking about when it comes to creating products and services. If I can inspire you to read this book and think, wow, I want to create an online course based on my book. Maybe I should reach out to that Vanessa person and see what she got going on.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So we have about 5 minutes left. I mean, it goes fast. So, can you in these last 5 minutes? I know we talked a little bit about your free product. We had a lot of tips on digital marketing, but what exactly is your business? You are a publisher, or are you a digital marketer, or you're a little bit of both?
I am a lot of bit of both.
A lot of it.
I'm a lot of bit of both. So I am a writing and publishing coach. That's where I started in this entrepreneurial journey, because I finally got tired of saying no to money when people kept asking me, "Can you help me with my book?"
Mhm.
So not only do I publish, but I teach people how to write and publish and promote their own books. Now, my promotion stuff is not like yours, Dr. Rhonda. You know, my promotion stuff is okay, this is basic promotions that you need to know as an author. Now that I know Dr. Rhonda is available, when you need that graduate level promotion stuff, then this is where you go. But
Well,
I give you
we're gonna work with each other, because sometimes we
so,
need a little bit of both.
so, so I help people who uh, don't know where to start, in 16 weeks write, publish, and promote their books. I also then help those authors and entrepreneurs grow their online businesses. Now, sometimes that content comes from their book. Sometimes they have the content in their head already, and they've already started doing workshops or webinars or online courses, but they don't feel comfortable with the technology to pull all that stuff together. So it's like, I have this course, but wait a minute, now you're saying I got to have a landing page, and I got to have a payment system, and I got to have automation, and then I got to know how to do the Zoom if it's going to be live. And then, well, when somebody buy it, where do they get it? How do I get it to them? I got to put it in a portal and all of that stuff. I help simplify that, particularly for people over 50 who really sometimes have this, they have this thing that, okay, I can't do this. I am technology challenged. That's my pet peeve, is to hear somebody say that I'm technology challenged. I don't do well with technology. That breaks my heart, because that's where our money is.
Right, right.
And if you got to change that mindset. There is nothing that can keep you from your destiny but you.
Mm.
Now, you learned that technology at work. Most of us worked in corporate America before there was computers, before there was emails. We had the inner office envelope where you scratched out the previous name, and you wanted to send a message to somebody in the office. You had to put it in the envelope, had to write the name, and had to give it to the guy that walked around and got the mail.
Yes.
And then one day there was a computer on our desk, and we learned how to do that. If you can learn how to do technology to build somebody else's dream, learn how to do technology to build your own dream.
Oh, now with that, that's the way you end the show. Oh man, that was great. Thank you so much, Miss Vanessa, for joining me tonight. I really enjoyed our conversation. I hope everybody watching was able to get something out of this. I mean, even if you picked up 2 gems from tonight, you picked up a lot. So once again, thank you. Please remind everybody where they can find you.
You can find me on Facebook, all the socials, Vanessa Collins LLC. If you want to get that workshop planner, you can go to productcreationforauthors.com/workshop, or you can just DM me on my Facebook business page, Vanessa Collins LLC. DM me the word workshop, and I will make sure that planner gets to you.
Come on. All right. Thank you once again. You have a wonderful evening. Thanks once again. This has been great information. I learned a few things myself. So
Thank
I'm
you,
looking
Dr.
forward to
Rhonda, for
working with
having
you more.
me.
Oh no, my pleasure. My pleasure. You have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. All right, y'all. There you have it. I told you we were going to have some great guests for you tonight. I hope that you were able to get something out of this show. If not, and you missed some of it, make sure you catch the replay. And if you do catch the replay, make sure that you comment #replay. Let us know that you saw the replay. And then also, make sure you comment underneath. Tell us one thing you got out of tonight's show, because there was a lot. But tell us one thing that you got out of tonight's show, because this is what this is all about. This is a service to our authors, but it's also a service to you. We want to continue to help you to reach your goal of being a published author while we're supporting independent authors and marketing and selling their books as well. So if you have any questions on anything that we covered tonight, make sure you reach out to me either in the DMs, or you can go to my website, www.mtwimagesolutions.com. And guess what? Black History Month Literary Weekend 2025 is coming in February, and we are looking for our new sponsors for this coming year. So we want you to be a part of it. So if you are an author who would love to get some publicity during this wonderful weekend while reaching out to students, reaching out to the community, this is a great place to do it. If you are a business owner and you want to connect with the community, this is a great place to do it. So just go to our website, www.mtwimagesolutions.com, for more information on our business, as well as the Black History Month Literary Weekend. And stay tuned, because you're going to be getting information about how to become a sponsor for the 2025 event. We want you guys to be a part of it. So that's all we have for tonight. So make sure you catch me tomorrow. I will be on Black Authors Matter TV, and then catch me next week right here for a new episode of Horizons Author Lounge. Once again, thank you guys. God bless you, and have a wonderful evening.